All right, what is up? Good mic work, back at you after about a week off. I was so exhausted after everything surrounding the WWE Draft, Battleground, Raw, SmackDown, title changes, title creations, everything that was going on last week pretty much drained me, so I had to distance myself from the channel for the rest of the week. I was really busy at work as well, so I figured there was no way I was going to be able to get up here any earlier than tonight, Monday night, after Monday Night Raw. Still not too sure how I'm going to handle the commentaries moving forward, but I will tell you there is a lot of internal plans going on right now, and don't be surprised between now and the end of the year if you see a few changes on the channel, and stay tuned till the end of this video if you want to hear more about that. I might reveal a little bit more. But for right now, between now and SummerSlam at least, since the build-up is going to be pretty intense for this show, I figured I would come up casually, probably every Monday night after Raw, and I'll discuss SmackDown in a video later on in the week, or possibly even the very same night that SmackDown aired. I think between now and then, since I haven't really solidified any plans of exactly what I want to do yet, just still expect me to come up here a couple of times a week discussing these shows. I should be able to maintain coming up here on Monday nights and talking about Raw, provided Raw is worth talking about. If we run into a shitty one between now and SummerSlam, I might skip it, wait until SmackDown, and then review both shows at the same time on Wednesday. So basically what I'm going to wind up doing is playing everything by ear. I'm just going to wait and see how the shows are and base that whether or not I come up and talk about them individually or whether I combine the commentaries at the same time. So as far as tonight goes, it's going to be a casual chat. We're going to discuss Monday Night Raw. Week 2 of the brand extension is now in the books, and we were wondering if Raw was going to continue the momentum it had last week with that great first show that I still just get goosebumps over when I think of some of the moments and matches we had on that show last week. You knew it was going to be impossible to top that, but tonight was still a solid show. I give it, a B. I think the days of my match-by-match reviews of Monday Night Raw are probably over. These are going to be more casual chit-chats, so the big news tonight on Raw was the return of Brock Lesnar. Also the return of Paul Heyman, and it was broke somewhere on the dirt sheet somewhere. I was seeing it on Twitter, but apparently Paul Heyman, whose contract was up, has re-signed his deal with the company. I'm sure it was just some legal shit to work out. Paul Heyman has a lot of outside interests. He is not going to do anything with the WWE unless he can be able to do what he wants. I'm sure they came to terms rather easily, and he's re-signed, so he's back with Brock Lesnar. And even if he wasn't, I'm sure they could have worked out a deal for Brock to appear, or for Heyman, to appear tonight and at SummerSlam. But good to know that Paul Heyman is back. The promo that closed the show was Heyman and Lesnar coming out. Heyman does the big Lesnar intro. He comes out. We were wondering what kind of reception he was going to get. The fans seemed to be in awe of him and love him as much as they ever did. WWE pretty much is just trying to ignore all the controversy surrounding him. Moving along as scheduled with Brock Lesnar. Big match with Randy Orton, of course, at SummerSlam. Paul Heyman just spends the whole time cutting a promo on Randy Orton in the match and how Randy Orton pretty much doesn't stand a chance. And I was watching this thinking to myself, they'll probably have Randy Orton hit the ring and RKO Brock and then get police escorted out of the building. And then I changed my mind. I was ready to tweet that out. And then I was like, no, maybe not. I mean, it's just the first week of the build. They've still got plenty of time for these two guys to interact one time. They might save it until the week before SummerSlam, where one guy appears on the other show and they have some sort of a confrontation. I really didn't think we would see it tonight. And then out of nowhere, Randy Orton hits the ring just as I suspected, nails Brock with the RKO, and darts through the crowd out of the arena. Stephanie and Mick Foley are going apeshit. So much for the brand split, though, I guess. The one thing I did have against one of these guys appearing on the other show is that it's not truly a brand split, if that can just fucking happen. So hopefully this type of shit is reserved for very special occasions, and as long as they do a guy jumping up on another show 1 or 2 times a year maximum, then I can live with it. But if it's some shit that's going to happen weekly and monthly, this brand split will fail. As far as my early predictions for this match goes, I have to say it's completely up in the air. I mean, WWE is not going to suspend or punish Brock Lesnar for the 2 failed drug tests, but you have to wonder, as we're seeing with Roman Reigns right now, if WWE will do something similar with Brock and say, okay, this big match, these 2 icons that got their start together in the WWE, who do we want to have win? They might want to give this one to Randy Orton. WWE clearly is not playing any favorites anymore. That's obvious with what they're doing to Roman Reigns. If WWE wanted to push a guy unconditionally, no matter what anybody thought, they would keep pushing Roman Reigns after this, but they are making him eat shit. So you have to wonder if they might do the same thing with Brock and at least say, all right, you're going to have to put Randy Orton over. That's your punishment, basically, for failing those 2 drug tests. You probably would have won this match, but you're going to lose it now. And WWE's done this before with him when he was about to leave and go play play football for the Minnesota Vikings, and they had him and Goldberg in the ring at the same time on both their last nights. They chose Goldberg over him as far as putting him over. So you got to think that it's very possible that Randy Orton could get the victory here. I will reserve my prediction for a couple weeks. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how my mind changes. We'll see what all of you tell me about and give me some ideas, and I'll formulate my prediction and have a good one for you during my predictions video in a few weeks. Now, the other big news on Monday Night Raw, of course, is we were coming off the heels of that great show last week where Finn Balor exploded onto the main roster in probably the biggest way someone could debut. He won 2 matches last week, of course. He won a Fatal 4-Way, pinning Rusev, who's on a tear right now, and then he beat Roman Reigns clean. 2 guys twice his size he defeats in one night to earn a spot to face Seth Rollins in the main event of SummerSlam. At least that's what they're saying. I don't know if this is actually going to be the main event. I can't imagine the main event would go to Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler, although the WWE title, I feel, should be in the main event, but I think that's unlikely. So unless they want to give it to Brock and Randy Orton, it's going to be Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor in the main event of SummerSlam. That's pretty badass. Michael Cole, in one of WWE's in-ring interviews that they're starting to do more now on this brand split Raw, he brings out Finn Balor, who talks a little bit about his wins last week. Seth Rollins then interrupts, cuts a promo on him. They both do a pretty good job. I mean, Finn is not going to be fantastic on the mic. He's decent, he gets his point across, and he's very likable. But with WWE's writing style and everything, I just hope they don't make him look stupid. But the match, you know, is going to be amazing. I mean, who would have thought 2 months ago we were wondering if they were ever going to call Finn Balor up, and then if they did, he'd probably go to Raw and win the Cruiserweight title. Oh, no, 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 no. This motherfucker is a big deal. And I can't wait to see his awesome entrance at SummerSlam. That's going to be such a good match. And tonight was kind of him and Seth's first interaction. They cut the promos on each other. They got physical. Seth tried to attack him. Finn Balor fought him off and hit him with one of his kicks, and Seth retreated up the ramp. So the stage is set for that match. They got a couple more weeks to do some stuff together. I imagine these guys are going to be involved in a tag team match at some point where they can get some ring time in together on Monday Night Raw and possibly the house shows. But you know the match is going to be awesome at SummerSlam. I can't wait. When I think about who could potentially win this match, I mean, I kind of want Seth Rollins to win because I think Seth Rollins, number one, is fucking awesome, and number two, is going to be a big part of the WWE's future. And since he has already been the first ever NXT champion, I think if you're building a guy's legacy, to make him the first ever Universal Champion, I think will be an awesome feather in his cap, and it will be something that he can refer back to and never shut the fuck up about for the rest of his career. That can really help make him. You know, Shawn Michaels was like the first ever Grand Slam champion. Seth Rollins, to accomplish this, to win 2 titles that both will most likely wind up having a lot of prestige. The NXT title already does. The Universal title, provided how it's booked and handled and the guys it's given to, I'm sure will develop quite the history itself. And if Seth Rollins is able to retire knowing that he was the first guy to hold both of those, you know, that's Hall of Fame shit right there. So I'm kind of rooting for Seth Rollins for that reason. But at the same time, if they give it to Finn Balor, what a way to launch this guy. If you need to make a star, if you need to make a main eventer today because you've decided to split the brands at a time where you don't have a whole lot of top main event players, you got a whole lot of good talent, but you only have one John Cena and one Roman Reigns and a Randy Orton here or there, you don't have any of those mega stars. So if you need to get some more guys on the map, giving that belt to Finn Balor upon his arrival to the WWE would not be a bad idea either. So basically with this match, no matter who the hell wins, I'm happy with it. They could do some shenanigans. One guy could go heel or Finn Balor could go heel. Seth Rollins could go babyface. They could do a double turn. I could easily see that working given the fact that Gallows and Anderson are on the same roster and they could form the Balor Club and all that shit. So it could go a million different ways. Who knows what they could do? All I know is it's probably going to be pretty fucking fun, and no matter who walks out of that match as the champion, I'm probably going to be fine with it. Seth Rollins, incidentally, did have a match tonight against Sami Zayn, and he said in his promo with Finn Balor that he was going to make an example out of Sami Zayn, and he pretty much did. It was the final match on the show before the Brock Lesnar-Randy Orton promo, and a solid match and a solid victory for Seth Rollins to keep his momentum going into SummerSlam. Now, I mentioned Rusev earlier on. He had a match tonight against Mark Henry. Mark Henry had approached Mick Foley and Stephanie backstage and saying, hey, thanks for drafting me to Raw, but I think I want to give another shot at a title, and I want to have another run. And Stephanie was like, whoa, we kind of only drafted you so you could be an ambassador to the WWE and use all your experience to teach the young guys and travel for the WWE. Apparently, Mark Henry's going down to the Olympics to represent the WWE, so they want to use him in that kind of a role. But Mick Foley gives him a chance and says, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe you do have one more run left in you, and maybe you do have some left in the tank, so why don't you go out there and prove yourself tonight? I'll give you a United States title match against Rusev. So these two guys are hooking back up. Their rivalry and matches go way back, and you knew Mark Henry was just going to go out there and get shit on because there's no way he's going to beat Rusev. Rusev just got married, of course, over the weekend to Lana. I saw some of those pictures on Instagram, and I am one step away from stalking Lana. I mean, Jesus, God, that shit she was wearing tonight. And last week, did you see that? Somebody tweet me that gif of Vince falling over in the chair with Stacy Keibler's legs around him. That was me. He did beat Mark Henry, as expected, and I was happy because I'm like, sweet, I'm a big Rusev fan right now. I love him. He was great tonight on the mic, by the way, and his run has just been something that I've really been enjoying. I feel like it's the old Rusev. I feel like it's the old unstoppable Rusev until Roman Reigns' music hits. Rusev is out there challenging everybody, talking shit about the USA and the Olympics, and I'm thinking Kurt Angle's going to come out there. This show tonight was in Atlanta. I believe that's where Kurt Angle won that gold medal. So to me, I was like, holy shit, Kurt Angle might show up right now and attack Rusev and challenge him for the title. But I looked at the clock and it was like the bottom of the hour, and I'm like, nope, it's not time for a return like that. This is not where they debut him. And of all musics, they hit Roman Reigns' music. Holy shit, can you say demotion? Not that feuding for the U.S. title is anything to be ashamed of. That title has really gotten a lot better since guys like Rusev and John Cena have held it. But damn, I mean, this guy was on top of the world. The WWE was going to give him the keys to the store, and now he's literally been punched down a notch. And I think, you know, to me, it's just like, wow, his punishment is going to keep on going. But really, you got to honestly know that you cannot expect this to last. I think WWE, I think the more they punish Roman Reigns, the more it shows that they have so many plans for him in the future. And they want to absolutely make sure that if they put this guy on top, that he will not fuck up again. So they are making him lose all this money, all these title matches, and now he's a lower step on the card. He's been regulated to mid-cards for the time being. I remember this going on with Randy Orton a couple of years ago. I can't remember why, but he was just jobbing left and right. I remember he lost like a 4-minute match on Raw to Wade Barrett clean, just randomly. 1, 2, 3, right in the middle of the ring, right in the middle of the show like it was nothing. And I was like, damn, Randy Orton is in the doghouse. And then what wound up happening? Later on, like the next year at SummerSlam, he wins the World Heavyweight title, and then he unifies the belts by winning both just a few months after that. So anybody can come back from this type of stuff. I think WWE just wants to make sure that Roman Reigns knows that he's not untouchable, and he will suffer if he has another drug violation. So it's something that they almost have to do, and I think in time Roman Reigns obviously will build himself back up into a main event contender, and I'm sure he'll win the world title again one day. But right now, he's going to be feuding for the United States title, and I'm assuming this match will be announced for SummerSlam at some point. Now, here's what I'm wondering. We have plenty of time to predict this, but is it possible that Roman Reigns loses again? Is it possible that Rusev, who's on a huge winning streak as it is, that just keeps on rolling and he beats Roman Reigns at SummerSlam with the accolade? Could WWE be that pissed off at Roman Reigns that happens? At this point, I might say yes, because I mean, fuck, what are they doing with this shit with Roman Reigns? They're now trying to make him like the American sympathizer and all. It's just so old school, and it doesn't work, and this guy is not being cheered, and now you're trying to get him over in the most ridiculous way. I guess a lot of people hate Rusev, but not a lot of the smart fans do. I don't. I think the guy is hilarious. I think he's awesome. He's believable. He's badass, and he's funny as fuck at the same time. He's one of my favorite overall packages in the WWE. Plus, I'm trying to get close to him so I can steal his wife. So if Rusev is able to tap out Roman Reigns to the accolade, I have no problem with that whatsoever, and that really puts Rusev up there now as a major player, and it makes his streak believable, because so far he's defeated Mark Henry and Titus O'Neil and Zack Ryder and a bunch of schmucks. You know, he goes out there and beats Roman Reigns. That's going to be awesome. So we'll see. Right now, I can't even predict this match. It just depends on how the WWE feels. Putting the U.S. belt on him, though, I mean, if they did that, okay, but well, what's the point? I mean, Roman Reigns is a pretty big star. Rusev is doing a good job with that title. Putting it on Roman Reigns, I don't know if that's really going to please the fans very much, but it definitely is a step down, and at least he's not feuding for the world title. We have 2 world titles right now, and Roman Reigns isn't in the picture on either one of them. So at least for right now, if they got to have him have a run with the U.S. belt or a feud with Rusev, the fans should be able to handle that, because at least he's out of the main event just like you wanted. The New Day had a match tonight, a non-title match against Gallows and Anderson. They did some sort of a deal where only 2 members of New Day were to be allowed at ringside, so Xavier Woods drew the unmatching piece of fruit, which was 2 oranges and a banana, which formed a cock and balls on television. We had a few non-PG moments tonight on Monday Night Raw, actually, which was kind of refreshing, to be honest. Xavier has to leave the ringside area. Apparently his parents were there right in the front row. That's his hometown, I guess. So he was out of the match, and New Day ended up winning randomly, rolling up, I forgot who got pinned. I think it might have been Anderson. There was a brawl after the match where Xavier returns, and the entire New Day pretty much got beat down by Gallows and Anderson. So clearly this will be a title match at SummerSlam. I mean, how can it not be? So I've been waiting for the New Day to drop the belts, and I figured the team that they would drop them to would be Gallows and Anderson, so this looks like it's going to be the time. Speaking of titles changing hands, I haven't even talked about the show's opening. Opened up with Sasha Banks. How nice. Not Stephanie, not Triple H, not Mick Foley, not Shane McMahon. Sasha Banks, brand new WWE Women's Champion. Great match, great moment for her last week on Monday Night Raw. Beating Charlotte for the belt in a big surprise, and we thought they would build it a little longer and have her have this moment at SummerSlam. Nope, Charlotte is getting a rematch at SummerSlam instead. Sasha Banks comes out to cut a promo, talk about her victory last week. Charlotte, of course, interrupts like you knew she would. The two girls said some pretty harsh words to each other. It was a pretty good promo, actually. And then Chris Jericho shows up out of nowhere. You're like, what the hell is he doing there? And I swear, this guy should run for president. Chris Jericho is hilarious right now. Give him the Universal title. Make him the first ever Universal Champion so he can talk about it until he's on his deathbed. He is easily one of my favorite people in WWE right now. He takes the side of Charlotte. They both start making fun of Sasha Banks and her nickname and all that shit. And then Enzo comes out without Cass. He hits the ring, cuts a hilarious promo as well, starts flirting with Sasha, and in another non-PG moment talks about making a deposit in the Sasha Bank, which I laughed at because I wouldn't mind doing that myself. Mick Foley eventually comes out to sort out all this mess. You could smell it coming. You knew you were going to get some sort of a mixed tag. That's exactly what he did. Jericho and Charlotte taking on Sasha and Enzo, and that match was going to take place right away. Charlotte's able to get a pin on Sasha and get a little redemption from last week. Sasha had some help from Dana Brooke, who made an appearance and distracted everything. So I know people don't like to see champions get pinned, but when you're wrestling every week, you know, sometimes you just got to lose. That's how 50-50 booking came about. And speaking of 50-50 booking, you know, maybe we can see a little bit less of that because WWE, as we've seen, have brought back the jobber matches. They brought back 2 more tonight. Unfortunately, they were with the same 2 people. Now, I know Braun Strowman is kind of getting a repackage, and Nia Jax is brand new and making her debut. So I'm okay with these squash matches, but I wish they would do it for everybody. You know, I don't want them to do just like what they did with Ryback a couple years ago when they were trying to build him and he was beating like 2 guys at a time. I don't want jobber matches to be exclusive to 1 or 2 talents. I want them to be for everybody. Put Cesaro in a squash match here or there. Put Kevin Owens in one. Put your whole roster in squash matches from time to time. You should have 2 per show. That's what you should do. And I think doing that will just slightly apply the brake to how fast you are going on some of this shit. The fact that you have to have competitive matches every week and storylines move so fast and stuff, if you can actually just spread it out, slow it down just a tiny bit. I understand it can't go back to the same pace it did in the 1980s or the 1990s for that matter. I understand we're way past that, but maybe just slow it down a little bit. And if you had a few more of these jobber matches sprinkled throughout Raw involving all of the talent, I think that can help give the fans a little breather here or there. So I'm happy to see these jobber matches, and I'm even happier to see the pre-match promos. The one with the kid that took on Braun Strowman, and Byron Saxton is like, wait, why are you doing this? He's like, I'm doing it for $1,000, man. Why do you think? And then he's like, if I win, I get $5,000. All right, buddy. Okay, good enough reason for me. And he's in there to take on Braun Strowman, who, what do you make of this guy's theme music? I mean, Jesus, he just screams like a goddamn ape. That's his gimmick. He's an ape. He just lets out this big fucking roar, and then he just mauls his opponent in the ring, and yeah, he's a gorilla. Nia Jax got the other squash match tonight. She beat the hell out of some girl, pretty convincingly, pinned her with a boot on the chest. Couple of the sillier things we saw tonight, Jinder Mahal has returned to the WWE. That was reported on the websites. I did see that a few days ago. So he showed back up tonight with Heath Slater, who I had a feeling would show up tonight on Raw after he did that run-in on SmackDown. I was thinking to myself, oh, he'll probably do the same thing on Raw. Him and Jinder both run into the ring. Slater starts cutting a promo, says he's brought Jinder Mahal, his old friend, back with him. They're the 2-man band. They are then interrupted by Mick Foley, who makes a match between the 2 of them and says the winner will get a contract to be here on the main roster on Monday Night Raw. And as Heath Slater is bitching at Mick Foley that he would never fight his brother, Mahal tells the referee to ring the bell, attacks Slater from behind and pins him, and wins a roster spot. So Jinder Mahal is back. Looks like he's on his own. Slater, it's yet to be seen where he will land. I guess maybe now he'll go back to SmackDown, although he could stay on Raw. But I thought Heath Slater cut a pretty good promo last week on SmackDown. Tonight's wasn't that bad either, although not as good as last week. So I'm sure all of this humiliation is going to lead to something with him, and they might actually do a little bit more with him than just making him a fucking joke, which is what they're doing right now. The other dumb segment that I didn't like, Golden Truth. So R-Truth, I guess, is obsessed with Pokemon Go. And I have no idea, I know nothing about Pokemon. Me trying to talk about Pokemon, or what the fuck this is like a 2-year-old trying to do calculus. I am clueless as to what all this fucking shit is and what the craze is. I remember the South Park episode about Pokemon like 15 years ago or whatever. I don't even like being on my phone now because I don't want people to think that I'm playing that shit. It just annoys the hell out of me. I don't know why. But poor R-Truth is addicted to this shit, and he's playing it on the ring apron during their match with the Shining Stars. Now, I don't know what happened to the days of the referees patting down the wrestlers before their matches. I wouldn't assume that smartphones would be legal. I'm just a wild guess. So it was done purely for comedy and just to capitalize on all the publicity that Pokemon Go was getting. You knew WWE couldn't ignore that. As social media savvy as they are, you know they had to dedicate some sort of stupid-ass segment to that, and they did. It was dumb. The Shining Stars won. A team that sucks is not over at all, and I hate... Nothing against the Colognes. The WWE have put them in the stupidest gimmicks ever since they got there. I would like to see them become a serious tag team someday. But tonight they did get a victory by rolling up Goldust after he went to dive for the tag, and R-Truth is so distracted with his phone that he just missed and Goldust fell right on his face. So the segment was mildly funny, I will say that, but overall pretty stupid. As far as the other things I wanted to mention, it was announced today by Lillian Garcia herself that she is leaving the WWE. It looks like her 15-year run with the company is over. Her father is suffering from cancer, and I guess she is leaving to take care of him during his dying days, so my heart goes out to Lillian. I love her. I know there was rumors of her leaving a couple times in the past, and I know she's already left once for a short time, but she's been a mainstay there through this modern era of wrestling during these 2000s when she hit the scene and did so well, and she's such a great personality, great ring announcer. I love her. Her botches make her even more lovable. I've always had a really soft spot in my heart for Lillian. I've always loved her a lot. I think she's a great person. I've always been really annoyed when the WWE cracks jokes about her and ribs her and shit because I thought it was highly insensitive and it always pissed me off beyond belief. She did a great job, and as a wrestling traditionalist like myself, I mean, she won me over, and that's pretty hard to do with me, especially for a ring announcer. So I'm going to miss Lillian and wish her the best of luck, and I hope everything goes as smoothly and as peacefully as possible for what her family is about to go through. And who knows, maybe one day in the future she can make a return. I highly doubt we will never see Lillian again. She's leaving WWE on good terms, obviously. I'm sure she can come back, if nothing else, for an appearance here or there. Definitely wouldn't mind hearing her belt out the national anthem at another pay-per-view at some point in the future. So hopefully one day we will see and hear Lillian's beautiful voice again. But for now, she's left the WWE, and I wish her nothing but the best. We love you, Lillian. Speaking of heartwarming things, I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but I found it so bizarre. So yesterday, randomly, I got to thinking for some reason about Roddy Piper. I don't know how he entered my mind. I don't even know how it started, but I just got to thinking about Piper, so I started pulling up a bunch of his old matches from my massive video library that's at my fingertips on all my hard drives, and I start going through some stuff. I start thinking about some of my favorite Roddy Piper matches and moments, and I was going through and finding them, and I watched about an hour of Roddy Piper matches and promos, just randomly, and I was just thinking about him. I'm like, I sure do miss Hot Rod. He was one of my favorite people ever in the WWE, and went on with my day, didn't think anything of it. And even last night, when I'm sleeping, Roddy Piper was like incorporated into a couple of my dreams. He was just in there randomly. Like one time I was watching him on TV, and then he came up somewhere else in one of my dreams. Didn't think anything of this shit at all. Went about my day, got home, I sit down to watch Monday Night Raw. I pull up Twitter, and somebody sends out a tweet that so-and-so reacts to the 1-year anniversary of Roddy Piper's death. And I'm like, oh my God, when was that? I looked up the date, and it was July 31st, yesterday. The same day that I decide to watch all these Roddy Piper videos and I fucking dream about the guy. And I was floored by that. I was like, wow, am I that ingrained in pro wrestling that my body just instinctively starts thinking about stuff like this? I mean, I was blown away by it. So obviously it's pure coincidence, but I still thought it was a really nice story because Roddy Piper, you know, I'm an old school guy and I have so many memories of him, and when guys like him die and Randy Macho Man Savage hit me hard because of the huge amount of memory space they take up in my brain, and to see them pass away is always so sad. Dusty Rhodes, of course, we lost a year ago as well, same thing. Some of these guys were so important to me being a wrestling fan that it's always sad when they pass away. So I thought it was really ironic that I happened to be thinking about the Hot Rod and watching all of his shit on the day that he died without knowing it. So rest in peace, Hot Rod. You are truly missed. So that is it for me tonight. As far as what I alluded to earlier on in the video, just a lot of stuff going on right now, personal life, nothing bad, just a lot of craziness. And one of the reasons I've decided to play everything by ear as far as my commentary schedule goes is because things are just going to be really nuts between now and like October 1st. Long story short, we've been waiting for this really nice condo that we've wanted to rent to come available. And come to find out, it is available on October 1st. But the problem is our lease ends here on September 1st. So what we have to do is just rent a little Airbnb for 30 days. So between September 1st and October 1st, I'm going to be a little bit displaced. It's not really going to affect how I do commentary. It might affect them a little bit. I'm definitely not going to take all that time off. I'll be up here weekly just like I always am. I'll be live tweeting for Raw and all of that. None of that will change. But just my mojo will be a little bit disrupted. So when I get in my new place and I get my new office built and all of my DVDs and all my collectibles and all my memorabilia has actually been in storage. I have a storage unit rented in town. And when we downsized about a year ago, I stuck all that stuff in storage knowing that it was just going to be temporary until I drug it all back out again. So when I get my big office, man cave, recording, GoodMicWork studio set up, I will be much happier, but that will not be coming until October 1st. That's part of the reason why you haven't seen a lot of DVD reviews lately, is because if you've watched mine before, I like to take pictures of the DVD, on my shelf and all spread out so people could see what it looks like and all of that. All my shit's been in storage, so I guess I could just use some stock photos of the DVD, no big deal. In my commentaries, wouldn't make any difference, but I always like doing it that old way. So sooner or later, I'll have all my shit back at my fingertips, easily accessible, and it'll be much easier to produce commentaries moving forward. But for the next, 7-8 weeks, things are going to be a little bit crazy around here in GoodMicWork land. The good news, however, is I've been doing a lot of brainstorming, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about how to evolve this channel even more, because I don't want to be stale. I've been doing the same thing for a long time. I know I have multiple series. I do the DVD reviews, I do the special episodes, I do Q&As, I do This Day in Histories and all that stuff, but I need to even come up with more ideas. I've been thinking about 2 possible commentary ideas and subject ideas, and even video presentation wise might be a little bit different as well. And all my commentaries in the future, might change. I might one day appear on camera. I don't know, now that I'm about to get my space back where I can have a room dedicated to just doing this. You might see some of that from me in the future, not the near future, but possibly the distant future. I'm going to start looking into that and trying to get my name out there a little bit more. I do want to give a shout out to a couple of fellow YouTubers, JD from New York and Joe Cronin from The Joe Cronin Show. They both have offered me an open invitation to appear on their Out of Nowhere podcast pretty much at any time. So my shout out to them. I sincerely appreciate the offer, and I'm down to do it pretty much whenever. So you might see little things like that in the future from me. I want to start growing my channel even more. I'm very happy with my fan base and everything, but I want to start growing my fan base and growing my subscribers even more. I just surpassed 3,000 Twitter followers, by the way, not long ago, so thank you to everybody that follows me on Twitter. If you don't, please do, at GoodMicWork. So I think we've come a long way on this commentary channel, and I've got some pretty high hopes for the future, and I just want to let you know that my wheels are turning, and I do plan on evolving this channel. You're going to always have the same content that you expect from me, but hopefully you're going to have even more in the future. So I will most likely catch you in a couple of days with a few thoughts on SmackDown and anything else going on in the wrestling world. And then after that, I guess you probably won't hear from me again until next week after Raw, unless some big news takes place. So in the meantime, send me your questions for the future Q&A at goodmicwork@gmail. And also, I will get my ass on that DVD review. I've really been procrastinating on that. Pretty much because right now is not really a good time for me to do a DVD review, but it's been so long since I've done one, I need to hammer one out. So I already have one picked out. I've already started making notes on it. I just got to record, edit, and put it together and throw it at you guys. So hopefully that will be coming in the near future. So leave me all your comments on Monday Night Raw and everything that's going on, and your SummerSlam thoughts, and what's going to happen with all these feuds and storylines and all that shit, and I will catch you in a couple of days. Until then, peace.